Welcome back to the deep dive. We are really glad you were here for this one. Today, we're tackling a subject that I have to be honest with you and with our listeners right off the bat. It felt a little bit like a personal attack when I first started reading through the research packet.
Yeah, it really does at first.
It felt like an intervention, honestly. But as I kept reading, going deeper into the notes, the articles, and the studies we have for today, it started to feel less like a scolding and more like a, well, secret weapon. We are talking about digital asceticism.
It is a formidable term, isn't it?
Yeah.
Asceticism.
Very.
It carries a lot of historical weight. It feels heavy.
It really does. I mean, be honest, when I hear the word asceticism, my brain immediately goes to history class.
Right.
I picture monks in rough robes, living in damp caves, eating locusts, maybe wearing a hair shirt to prove their devotion.
Yes, it strongly implies suffering.
Exactly. It implies giving up everything that makes life fun or comfortable. So when I saw the title Digital Asceticism in our stack, I thought, great, this is going to be an hour of you telling us to smash our iPhones with a rock and go live in a yurt.
I think that is the completely common misconception. And frankly,
Right.
in the year 2026, that kind of burn-it-all-down, Luddite approach just isn't practical.
No, we have lives.
Right, we have jobs, we have families, we have logistics to manage. It's not about becoming unemployed or socially isolated.
Yeah.
The sources we have today are really clear on this distinction. This isn't about punishment.
Right.
It isn't about technophobia. It is actually described in the literature as the ultimate modern luxury. It represents a power move.
That is the hook that really grabbed me. The idea that in a world where everyone is constantly connected, constantly buzzing, constantly reactive, the person who isn't is actually the one with the status.
Exactly. It's a luxury to be disconnected.
Yeah.
Think about the hierarchy of the modern workplace, or even modern celebrity. Who is the person who has to answer every email instantly?
The subordinate.
The subordinate. The person who has to be on all the time, responding to every little fire. But who is the person who can afford to be offline for 4 hours, to think, or to disappear for a weekend?
The CEO. The leader.
The visionary. So digital asceticism is really about claiming that level of sovereignty for yourself, regardless of your job title.
I love that.
It's about signaling to yourself and others that your time and attention are scarce resources.
Sovereignty. That's a really powerful word. We're going to come back to that because it frames this whole discussion not as giving something up, but as taking something back.
Precisely.
But before we get to the solution, and we do have a ton of really practical strategies from the sources to get into, like grayscale modes, friction principles, and something called the one-sip rule, which I found fascinating. We have to fully understand the problem because the sources use some pretty brutal language to describe our current situation.
They really do not pull any punches. They use terms like algorithmic enslavement and digital gluttony.
Digital gluttony hit me hard. It's such a visceral image. It makes me think of that scene in Spirited Away where the parents just keep eating until they turn into pigs.
It's a particularly apt metaphor. If you think about food, we understand that just eating everything in sight because it tastes good leads to bad health outcomes.
Sure.
We understand junk food. We understand moderation. But digitally, we consume endlessly. We scroll until our eyes blur. And the sources point out that we exist in what they call manufactured ecosystems.
Meaning they aren't natural.
Right. These apps, these platforms, they aren't neutral tools sitting there waiting for us. They are engineered environments.
Designed to make us passive.
Completely passive. They're designed to dictate how we feel, what we desire, and where we look. We talk a lot about the attention economy, right?
Yeah, it's a buzzword we throw around at cocktail parties. Oh, it's the attention economy.
But we rarely stop to think about what that actually means. If there is an economy based on attention, then you are the resource. Your focus is the harvestable crop.
That is dark. We are the product being sold. We are the raw material.
Precisely. And the sources argue that living reflexively in this environment, where you just react to the ping, react to the red dot, react to the vibration, is a surrender of agency. You are handing over the keys to your cognitive life to what one source calls dopaminergic loops.
Dopaminergic loops.
Yeah.
Because it's literally chemicals in the brain.
Yes. You aren't choosing. The algorithm is choosing for you based on what keeps your eyeballs glued to the screen. It is a form of servitude, really.
That is a terrifying thought. The idea that we are just drifting through loops designed by someone else to keep us stuck there. It really frames the need for a solution. It's not just about spending less time on the phone. It's about freedom.
Exactly. Freedom.
So let's define that solution. What exactly is digital asceticism if it's not living in a cave and eating bugs?
The definition that comes up repeatedly in the research is that digital asceticism is the disciplined application of voluntary restraint.
Voluntary restraint.
That word voluntary is the key. It's not that you can't use technology. It's that you choose when and how to use it. It is about reclaiming sovereignty over your attention, your time, and your inner life.
Okay.
It's the difference between fasting and starving. Starving is involuntary. Fasting is a choice made for health or spiritual reasons.
So sovereignty implies that right now we are occupied territory.
In many ways, we are. Our attention is occupied by foreign powers. The advertisers, the algorithms, the 24-hour news cycles.
Wow.
Digital asceticism is the revolution to take that territory back. The mission of this deep dive is to explore how to move from being used by devices to using devices.
A shift from being a passive product to an active operator.
Right. It's ensuring technology serves your values rather than replacing them.
Okay, let's unpack the philosophy here. There's a core distinction in the research, specifically in the first section of our materials, that I found absolutely fascinating. It's the difference between a tool and an environment. This was a huge aha moment for me.
This is the philosophical bedrock of the whole concept. If you understand this distinction, everything else makes sense. Let's think about a physical tool, like a hammer.
Okay, a hammer. Simple enough.
A hammer sits in your toolbox. It does nothing on its own. It has no agenda.
Right.
It doesn't call out to you. You have to have an intention.
Yeah.
I want to hang this picture. So you go to the toolbox, you pick up the hammer, you use it, and then, crucially, you put it down. It waits for you. It serves your intent completely.
The hammer isn't trying to get me to use it for 3 hours straight. It doesn't send me a notification saying, hey, remember that nail you hit last week? Here are 3 other nails you might like.
Exactly. It is passive until you activate it. Now, contrast that with a digital environment. A social media feed, a news site with infinite scroll, a smartphone with notifications turned on.
They don't just sit there.
No. These are not tools. They are environments. They surround you. They shape you. They act upon you. They don't wait for your intention. They provide the intention. Look at this. Be angry about this. Buy this. Fear this.
That is a huge shift in perspective. Because we treat our phones like tools. We say, oh, it's just a tool like a Swiss Army knife. But a Swiss Army knife doesn't vibrate in my pocket and manipulate my emotional state.
Precisely. A Swiss Army knife is a tool. A smartphone, as currently configured for most people, is a casino.
A casino.
Think about a casino. No clocks. New windows. Lights and sounds designed to keep you in a trance state. That is exactly how modern apps are designed. It's an environment designed to keep you inside. So the goal of digital asceticism is to convert these digital environments back into tools.
To strip them of their power to act on us.
Thus, the mantra from the source material is, you pick them up, they don't pick you up.
You pick them up, they don't pick you up.
Oh.
I love that. It's about being the active agent.
It's about intentionality. It's conscious consumption versus compulsive consumption. And this leads to the why. You can't just engage in asceticism for no reason. That's just masochism.
Right, you just be miserable.
You need a positive vision. The sources ask you to define what you are protecting. Why do you want your attention back?
That's the attentional sovereignty concept we saw in the notes.
Right. Is it because you want to do deep work and actually finish that novel you've been talking about?
Yeah.
Is it because you want to reduce the background hum of anxiety?
Yeah.
Is it because you want to have a conversation with your spouse where you are actually looking at their face, not glancing at your wrist? You have to identify the value that technology is displacing. Without a why, the discipline won't hold.
So once we have the philosophy down, we want tools, not environments, and we want sovereignty. How do we actually do this? The sources suggest starting with an audit, which sounds a bit like tax season, but for your brain.
It is a bit like stepping on the scale after the holidays.
Yeah.
It's painful but necessary. Before you start deleting apps or locking your phone in a safe, you need to observe the current reality.
This brings us to section 2, the audit and the morning. The sources suggest using the screen time trackers that are already on your phone. Screen time on iOS, digital well-being on Android. But they say don't just look at the hours.
Right, because we all do that thing where we see 4 hours a day and we feel a vague sense of shame and then we dismiss it.
Exact. Oh, well, I use it for work, we tell ourselves. We rationalize. I was listening to an audiobook, so it counts as learning.
We're very good at rationalizing. So how do we go deeper? How do we get past that? The sources suggest a qualitative audit. Not just how long, but how did it feel?
That's interesting.
Ask yourself 3 questions about the apps you use most. What do I feel before I use this? What do I feel during? And what do I feel after?
That before question is tricky because usually, if I'm honest, the answer is nothing. I don't even realize I'm doing it. It's automatic. My hand just goes to the pocket. It's like breathing.
And that's the insight. If the answer is, I didn't feel anything, I just found myself doing it, that reveals a compulsion, not a choice. That reveals you are in a loop. And often, if you dig deeper, the before feeling is a microflash of boredom or loneliness or a tiny spike of anxiety.
Mhm.
We use the app to medicate that feeling instantly.
And the after feeling.
Usually it's depletion, regret, a sense of where did that hour go? Rarely is it, wow, I feel so refreshed and inspired.
So true.
The audit forces you to confront the brutal truth that a lot of this usage isn't bringing you joy or utility, it's just extraction.
Once we face the music with the audit, the sources are almost unanimous on the first major habit change. If you do nothing else, they say, do this. It's the phone-free morning.
This is the gold standard. The rule is simple. No screens for the first 60 to 90 minutes of the day.
60 to 90 minutes. I can hear you listeners panic breathing already. But my alarm, but
Yeah.
the weather. But what if the world ended while I was asleep? Why is this specific window so critical? Why can't I just check for 5 minutes and then put it away?
It comes down to brain states. The sources explain that the first hour of the day is when your brain is in an alpha state.
Tell us about the alpha state. That sounds like science fiction.
It's very real neuroscience. The alpha state is a brainwave frequency associated with wakeful relaxation, creativity, and receptivity. It is the bridge between the subconscious sleep state and the fully alert beta state.
Okay.
It is, cognitively speaking, the most valuable real estate of your day. It's where your best ideas come from. It's where your emotional baseline is set. It's a period of extreme plasticity.
And what happens when we scroll a feed or check work email in that state?
We smash it. We destroy it instantly.
Just like that.
When you look at a screen immediately upon waking, you are flooding your brain with cortisol and dopamine. You are switching instantly into a reactive stress state. You are forcing your brain from that beautiful creative alpha state straight into high alert beta.
You are reacting to the world before you've even engaged with yourself.
Exactly. Think about what an inbox is. An inbox is just a convenient organizing system for other people's agendas.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. Other people's agendas.
When you check email first thing, you are starting your day on defense. You are reacting to what other people want from you. When you check the news, you're reacting to the tragedies and stresses of the world. You frame your entire day around external inputs.
So you lose the initiative. You haven't even brushed your teeth and you're already behind.
You lose the initiative and you lose the peace. One source says that checking the phone first thing triggers a background hum of anxiety that persists all day.
I know exactly what you mean.
It's that feeling of, I'm forgetting something or I need to hurry. Even if the news isn't bad, the act of checking tells your brain the world is urgent. Be on guard.
So the alternative is to protect that alpha state.
Yeah.
What do we do instead? Because I think people reach for the phone because they literally don't know what else to do with themselves in the morning. We've forgotten how to just wake up.
The sources call this the analog morning. You replace the screen with high-value inputs. Reading a physical book paper, not a tablet.
Right.
Movement. Stretching, walking, working out. Silence. Prayer or meditation. Journaling. The idea is to remain in a proactive internal state. You decide what thoughts enter your head first, not the algorithm.
It sets a completely different trajectory for the day. You are the captain of the ship, not just a passenger being tossed around by the waves. I love that. It's protecting the asset. Your brain is the asset.
Exactly. And practically speaking, this is the hardest habit to build, but the one with the highest ROI. If you win the morning, you tend to win the day.
Okay, moving on to section 3. We've audited, we've protected our morning. Now we need to talk about the design of the apps themselves and how to fight back. The sources call this the friction principle.
This is a direct response to Silicon Valley design philosophy. For the last 15 years, the holy grail of app design has been frictionless.
Make it as easy as possible. One click everything, don't make me think.
Right. They want zero resistance between your impulse,
Right.
board, and their reward. Here's a cat video. They want you to slide right in without noticing. They remove every barrier.
So we have to put the barriers back.
Yes. Digital asceticism is the art of deliberately reintroducing friction. You want to make it hard to get distracted. You want to create a buffer
Why do we need a buffer? Why is hard better?
to give your prefrontal cortex a chance to wake up. The prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain responsible for executive function, planning, and impulse control.
The rational part.
Exactly. But it's slower than the limbic system, which drives the emotional urges. The limbic system is fast. It sees a notification and says, click.
Right, it's totally reactive.
The prefrontal cortex needs a second to say, wait, is this a good idea? If there is no friction, the limbic system wins every time.
Because it's too fast.
Yes. But if you add friction, even just a 10-second delay, the prefrontal cortex can catch up and say, wait a minute, we have work to do. We don't need to see this.
So we are basically building speed bumps for our own brain. Let's talk about the specific tactics, because these are fascinating. Tactic A is grayscale mode.
This is a favorite of mine because it reveals so much about how we are manipulated. You go into your phone's accessibility settings. It's usually buried deep, which tells you something. And you turn the display to black and white.
It makes the phone look broken. It looks dead.
It does. It makes it look like a tool, not a toy. The sources explain that apps are designed using advanced color psychology. They are like slot machines.
Literally slot machines in our pockets.
The red notification badges, the bright blue refresh buttons, the saturated photos, these are visual cues that trigger a physiological dopamine release. Red says urgent. Bright colors say reward.
They are candy for the eyes.
Exactly. And when you turn the screen grayscale, you kill the candy, you remove the physiological reward. I challenge anyone listening to try this. Turn your phone to grayscale and then try to scroll a feed. It is incredibly boring.
You realize that without the color, a lot of the photos aren't even that interesting.
No, they aren't.
I've tried this. You look at it for 30 seconds and go, I'm good. It feels like reading a newspaper from the 1940s.
And that's the victory. The content hasn't changed, but the delivery mechanism has lost its hook. You stop because you want to, not because you're forced to. You regain the ability to say enough.
Another friction tactic is the out-of-sight rule. This seems obvious, but the data on it is wild.
Proximity is the enemy of focus. There have been studies showing that the mere presence of a smartphone on a desk, even if it is face down, even if it is on silent, reduces cognitive capacity.
Just having it in the room makes us dumber.
Yes, because a small part of your brain is actively working to ignore it. It's allocating resources to monitoring. Is it buzzing? Did I miss something? I shouldn't check it.
That's exhausting.
That takes energy. It's a cognitive leak. The rule here is simple. If you aren't using the phone for a specific task, it belongs in another room, in a drawer, or in a lockbox.
A lockbox. That seems extreme, but hey, if it works.
Some people need it. There are timed lockboxes you can buy, like kitchen safes. You put your phone in, set the timer for 2 hours, and it physically will not open until the time is up. It's ultimate friction.
That is intense.
But for most, just putting it in another room is enough to break the reflex. If you have to stand up and walk down the hall to check a feed, you probably won't do it.
It turns an unconscious twitch into a conscious choice. And that walk down the hall gives you enough time to realize, I don't actually need to do this.
Exactly. You're raising the cost of the distraction.
And then there's tactic C, which I think is diabolical but brilliant. Log out every time.
This targets those guilty pleasure sites. Maybe it's a social network, maybe it's a news site, maybe a forum. The rule is, never use Remember Me.
Oh, that is painful. Just thinking about it makes me annoyed.
It has to be. The sources call this the 16-character password effect. If you have the urge to check a site and you have to physically type in a long, complex password to get in, that takes maybe 10 or 15 seconds.
Capital P, # 94.
Exactly. And in those seconds, your brain has to focus on the typing, which breaks the trance. It gives you just enough time to ask, do I actually want to do this? Is it worth the effort? Usually the answer is no.
It's amazing how lazy our addictions are. Like, if I have to type a password, suddenly I don't care about my high school friends' vacation photos anymore.
Exactly. You're proving that the urge wasn't a genuine desire, it was just a reflex. Friction kills reflexes.
So we're adding friction to the device itself. Now, let's talk about boundaries. This is section 4, temporal and spatial boundaries. This is about drawing lines on the map and on the clock.
We need to draw lines.
Yeah.
We have allowed the digital world to bleed into every corner of our physical world and every minute of our day. We used to have computer rooms, remember?
Oh, yeah, the family desktop.
You went to the room, used the internet, and then you left. Now the internet is the air we breathe. We need to reclaim territory.
Let's start with spatial boundaries, establishing sacred spaces.
The sources are very firm on this. You need zones in your life where technology is strictly prohibited. The two big ones are the dinner table and the bedroom.
The dinner table seems like a lost battle for many families, but the sources call phones at the table a spiritual leak.
Meals are for communion and fuel. When a phone is on the table, even if you aren't looking at it, the quality of conversation drops.
Because everyone is waiting for it to buzz.
Everyone is half waiting for a notification. It creates a vibe of conditional presence. Removing them entirely signals that the people in front of you are more important than the people in the cloud. It forces you to actually talk.
And the bedroom.
That's for protecting sleep and intimacy.
Yeah,
We all know about blue light destroying melatonin, sure, but it's also about the psychological invasion.
right. The stress.
You don't want the chaos of the world, the news, the work emails, sitting on your nightstand while you're trying to rest. It keeps you in a state of hypervigilance. You're sleeping with the enemy.
So where does the phone go?
The sources say, charge your phone in the kitchen or the living room. Buy a cheap alarm clock.
We'll get to the alarm clock in a bit. That's a key tool. Now let's talk temporal boundaries, time boundaries.
This is where batching comes in. Instead of checking email or messages every 5 minutes, you designate specific windows. The sources suggest something like 9 a.m., 1 p.m., and 5 p.m.
But what if there's an emergency? That's always the pushback. I have to be available.
The expert view is that true emergencies are rare, and people will call you if the building is on fire. Most emergencies are just manufactured urgency.
That's a great phrase, manufactured urgency.
By batching, you allow yourself deep blocks of focus in between. You answer everything at once, then you close the shop. You're moving from always on to strategically connected.
It allows you to actually do deep work in the gaps. You can't write a strategy document or code a complex program if you're interrupted every 7 minutes.
Exactly. Interruption is the death of depth.
Now for the big one, the digital Sabbath. This is taking a full 24 hours offline.
This is drawn from ancient wisdom traditions, but applied to the modern cognitive load. The idea is to go completely offline. No email, no social, maybe even no phone at all, from Friday night to Saturday night.
That sounds terrifying to some, but also incredibly liberating.
The purpose is to remind you that the world doesn't end if you aren't watching it. It breaks the dependency. It forces you to engage with the analog world, nature, people, physical hobbies.
A total reset.
It resets your baseline so that when you do go back online, you appreciate it as a tool, not a lifeline.
Yeah.
It proves to your brain that you can survive without the feed.
During these fasts, or even just during a regular day, the sources mention a specific technique called the one-sip rule. This is a way to handle the withdrawal symptoms.
This is a really clever psychological trick.
Yeah.
Think about a food fast. If you're fasting, the moment you take a bite of food, the fast is broken. The sources argue a digital fast is the same. It is broken by a single glance at a screen.
Just one look.
Just one, because that one look reactivates the dopamine loop. It wakes the dragon. So the one-sip rule is for when that urge hits, and it will hit hard. You feel that twitch to reach for your pocket. Instead of fighting it with pure willpower, you displace it. You take a literal sip of water. Or you look out a window and find one specific detail to focus on.
You're replacing a digital sip with a physical sip.
Exactly. You acknowledge the urge, I want to check my phone, and you satisfy the need for action with something harmless and grounding. It breaks the loop without breaking the fast.
That is actionable. I'm going to try the water thing. I might be incredibly hydrated by the end of the day, but that's a side benefit.
Hydration is key. But seriously, it's about retraining the brain that the solution to discomfort isn't a screen, it's reality.
Let's move to section 5, because this one is, well, it's boring. Literally. The restoration of boredom.
This is my favorite part of the research. We have a phenomenon now called gap time.
Gap time.
It's those little in-between moments, waiting for the elevator, standing in line at the grocery store, sitting on the toilet, waiting for the microwave.
The moments where we instinctively pull out the phone.
We fill every gap. We cannot tolerate even 10 seconds of non-stimulation. It's like we are afraid of the silence. But the sources argue that this is a tragedy. They say boredom is the fertile soil of creativity.
How so? Because boredom feels terrible.
It feels terrible because it's the brain searching for stimulation. But if you push through that discomfort, that is where the brain starts to synthesize. It starts connecting dots.
Connecting dots from the rest of the day.
Yes. It processes the emotions of the day. If you never allow yourself to be bored, you are never allowing your brain to go into the default mode network, which is where deep problem solving and autobiographical planning happen.
So by killing boredom, we are killing our own insights?
We are blocking the signal. We are jamming our own radar with noise. Think about it. When do you get your best ideas? In the shower. Why?
Because you can't take your phone in the shower.
It's the last bastion of boredom.
That is a profound indictment of our habits. So the practice is just stand there.
Just stand there. When you are in line at the coffee shop, don't look at your phone. Look at the menu. Look at the barista. Look at your shoes. Just be there.
That sounds harder than it should be.
The sources compare resisting the urge to check to a monk sitting in a cave. It is a radical act of mental cultivation.
It reclaims the gap time as your time.
Yes, you are no longer waiting, you are being. You are existing in the world. And interestingly, people who do this report feeling much calmer. The world slows down when you stop rushing to fill every second.
Moving on to section 6. We've talked about friction, boundaries, and boredom. Now let's talk about the diet itself, information diet and analog anchors.
Just like a nutritional diet, you need to curate what comes in. The sources advocate for a high-signal diet.
Meaning less noise, more signal.
Right. Most of what we consume is noise. Outrage, hot takes, memes, updates from people we don't care about. A high-signal diet involves ruthlessly unfollowing accounts that trigger envy, anger, or inadequacy.
That's the Instagram envy factor.
Right. Why invite that into your head? If an account makes you feel bad about your life, why are you following it? And then there's the subscription purge.
Oh, I need this.
The sources say if you haven't opened a newsletter in a month, unsubscribe. Your inbox is not a storage unit.
Like we said earlier, an inbox is just a to-do list created by other people.
Exactly. And to help with this, they suggest using dumb tools. This circles back to the tool versus environment idea from the very beginning.
A dumb tool strategy. I like the sound of that.
A smartphone is a smart tool because it does everything, which means it can interrupt you with everything. A dumb tool does one thing.
Like the physical alarm clock we mentioned earlier.
Exactly. If you use a physical alarm clock, you don't need your phone in the bedroom. Problem solved. If you use a paper notebook, you can write without a notification popping up.
It enforces single tasking.
Yes. If you use a dedicated camera, you can take photos of your vacation without getting sucked into a feed immediately after taking the shot.
That camera one is huge. I feel like every time I take a picture with my phone, I see a text and suddenly I'm not looking at the sunset anymore. I'm answering work.
You've exited the moment. The dumb tool keeps you in the moment. It protects the integrity of the activity. It allows you to engage with the world without a digital layer in between.
And finally, single tasking.
The antidote to multitasking. We know now from the research that multitasking is a myth. It's just rapid task switching, and it degrades cognitive performance.
You aren't doing two things well, you're doing two things poorly.
Exactly. Digital asceticism demands single tasking. One tab open, one task at a time. Reading an article all the way through before clicking a link.
Reading an article all the way through, what is this, 1995?
It's a lost art, but it rebuilds the attention span. It trains the brain to stay on a linear path rather than jumping around like a grasshopper. It's cognitive rehabilitation.
So, bringing this all together, we've gone through the philosophy, the audit, the friction, the boundaries, the boredom, and the tools. It's a comprehensive lifestyle overhaul.
It is. It's a lifestyle design. It's not about being a Luddite. It's about being a master of your tools.
Let's bring it home to the outro. What is the summary here for the listener?
The summary is that digital asceticism is about moving from passive reactivity to active intentionality. It's about designing an environment where you are the master.
And the benefits are real. We are talking about rebuilt deep attention, reduced anxiety, that Pascalian angst we talked about earlier.
Better sleep. And just the ability to be a human being sitting in a room without needing a pacifier.
It is about dignity, really. The dignity of your own mind, the ability to trust your own thoughts.
Yes.
The sources leave us with a final provocative thought that I want to leave you, the listener, with. It's a question that honestly scares me a little, but in a good way.
It's the ultimate question of this discipline.
Here it is. What kind of person do you become when you finally have the silence and depth to hear your own thoughts?
That's the journey.
Something to chew on. That is the deep dive. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.